just a little interlude between the last part and the next part. One of the things I keep forgetting is that I did do a couple of other jobs while I was in the first year and a half or so of building up my hair business. The first job, first of all, I was doing the pet sitting and dog walking the whole time. I had a very small clientele. I occasionally got a new client, and it's very unpredictable work. Also, like I have a few clients that travel a lot for work, and so I would see their pets pretty often. And I had maybe two clients that were regular daily afternoon walks for their dogs. But other than that, it's kind of unpredictable. And like at the holidays, you get really, really slammed and you have so many pets to take care of every day. And in between, you might not have anything for a little while. So the other jobs that I worked during that time, the first one is that it was around the same time that Uber was pretty new, and there were some other rideshare services. One of them was called Sidecar. And the reason that I worked for them specifically, they're not around anymore, is that it was one of the only companies that would allow me to drive the car that I owned because it was too old for some of the other companies. I really, really hated that job, partly because I don't really love driving anyway. I find it stressful and sometimes it makes me anxious. I really hate traffic. I had just been driving a crazy 20 plus mile commute twice a day for that job that I used to work at for 14 years. I really did not want to be driving. So that was the first reason. The next reason is that 90% of the people that I picked up were absolute assholes, including, and I do not care if this somehow gets back to the right person. At some point, I took a ride that turned out to be for somebody who worked for the company, pretty high up, I think, like a young guy. And first of all, when I arrived to pick him up, he calls me and says, "Cool, I'm just going to hop in the shower real quick." Like he was not anywhere near ready to go. I had to wait for him for like 20 minutes. Rude. I don't get paid for waiting. Then he comes out. It's like him and two friends. I'm taking them across town to some like happy hour event at the Standard downtown. They were so loud and obnoxious in the car with me. And then he left me the worst tip I have ever received in my life. The worst, those guys. More stories like that. That didn't last very long because it felt like, I think that all of the money I earned working that job, I used to make repairs on my car during the same period. So it really felt like the more I did the job, the more repairs came up with my car. And I wasn't actually making any extra money. I was only just able to cover the repairs for my car, which I guess probably those things were going to break anyway, and I was going to have to fix them whether or not I had made the money from this side job. It felt the other way. It felt like it was a curse and it was breaking my car and I wasn't making any money. And honestly, I stopped doing it and I stopped having these constant repairs. So that was good. But the reason that I chose it, the reason that it worked is that, doing hair, you can make a decent amount of money if you're working for yourself or working for a salon that is charging sort of the average. Like you can go and work at like a cheap barbershop chain place and you'll make minimum wage, but you can also work at a nice salon and make a decent hourly rate, basically, but it's commission and you're waiting for clients. So the whole reasoning behind taking that job in the first place was that it was flexible and I could work when I was available instead of worrying that I would be committing to work and committing to a schedule that would then take me away from being available to do hair, because that doesn't make any sense. It's not going to help me build my business. So that is why I did that. And the second job had the same opportunity in it. It was I don't even know what you would call it. I was supposed to be making phone calls for a fundraising company. They would accept jobs from different organizations who were trying to raise funds, and then the company that I was supposed to work for, their people would make the calls on behalf of the organization doing fundraising. And it worked sort of the same way. They required that you work a minimum of 2-hour shifts. So you couldn't work for like 30 minutes and then leave, which is kind of stupid anyway. So you had to come in for 2 hours at a time, but you could work any time during the hours that they were open, any day of the week. I don't think there was like even a very big minimum. Like maybe you had to work 4 hours a week minimum to keep your job, and you had to work a minimum of 2 hours back to back on each of those 2 days, whatever days you wanted at whatever time of day was convenient for you. So it was very, very flexible again. And this is something that I knew I wasn't going to like. I didn't feel like I was going to be good at it. But again, it met the very specific criteria I had for what kind of job I would be willing to take, because it made no sense to me to go and take a part-time job making minimum wage and working like 4 hours a day or something that would take out of the time I was available to see clients for hair and pay me so much less that I couldn't even support myself. So it has never made sense to me to do that. So I did take this fundraising job, and the first company I interviewed with was really, really nice and upfront. I have to say, the thing that I noticed most about this industry was that people were very honest with you about the work you were going to do. So the first company I interviewed with, the first thing they said to me was, "We do fundraising for anyone." And I was like, "I don't know what you mean." And he was like, "Let's say the NRA wants someone to do fundraising for them." And I was like, "Oh, now I understand. I can't work here." And he was like, "No problem. That's why we tell you that right away." And so I left. And then the next place I worked, they were like, "We don't do that. We're very picky. We're doing fundraising for like the ASPCA." And I was like, "I can do that. That's fine." So none of these people, they don't care about your experience or anything. This is not a job where you're really being vetted. They're like, "Do you want to do it? Do you want to try it? You're hired." So I do like a training, like a couple of hours training with someone who already works there. And I have probably the most fortunate experience in the training session that is possible. What I'm told that I'm doing, he said, "You're going to call this person. This is someone who already makes a donation to this organization you're calling for monthly. And so you're going to call him up and you're going to ask him if he'll increase his monthly donation." And I was like, okay. And I did. I followed the script they gave me. I did the whole thing. And the guy was so easygoing and cool. Like, he answered the phone. He was really laid back. He didn't mind talking to me. Once I got through the script and asked him if he would increase his donation every month, he was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, super easy, unheard of, which I didn't know. And so I was like, "Oh, maybe I can do this." And that was the training day. And then I don't remember anything else that happened that day. But the first day that I came in to do actual work on my own, whole different story. So I go into work, my first shift, and it's overwhelming from the start. It's a room full of people on the phone, and the way that the computer and the phone works is weird, because like the computer dials the phone for you or something like that. And like, I don't know how that works exactly yet. I don't remember. And it also, it's like a whole thing where like the computer dials the phone and it starts the script, and then it goes through this whole thing, and then you have to disconnect a certain way. And so I'm just getting started, but I'm already feeling overwhelmed. I'm already feeling awkward. And my very first phone call is a woman who I can tell that she is at the end of her rope, that she is really taking a lot of effort for her to be civil with me. She's having a very bad day. Something is going on. And she tells me, she says, I go through the script because that's what I'm told to do. And she says, listen, I just checked my son into rehab this morning, so I can't really do this right now. And I felt horrible. I was like, what an asshole, calling her up, asking her for money when she just had to go through this really difficult personal thing, which is also very expensive. I felt terrible. I apologized profusely and got off the phone with her. And then I sat there for a few minutes, and I was so afraid to make another phone call that I decided I could not do this. And I stood up and I went and found the manager, and I just told him, I was like, I can't do this. And he was like, no problem. Took me in the office, wrote me a check for the training hours. And even though I had only worked just like 20 minutes just now, he paid me for a full hour at least, if not 2 hours, because of that whole 2 hour minimum thing, and just let me go. It was the easiest experience I have ever had with any kind of management, honestly. And yeah, it was great, but I really hated the work, so it didn't work out. So these are the kinds of things that I was doing when I was trying to build my hairdressing business. And the only thing that really worked out for me was the pet sitting and dog walking, but I was trying really hard.